too, some acquaintance with the context will be helpful. A monk conceives the riddle, wherein do those four great elements, whereas earth, water, fire, and air, cease altogether. And in order to get a suitable answer, develops his physique powers and goes from heaven to heaven, querying gods.
Psychic powers.
Psychic powers, and goes from heaven to heaven, querying gods and Brahmans in vain. At last, he approaches the Buddha, and when the riddle is put to him, he remarks that it is not properly worded and therefore reformulates it thus, before giving his solution in the verse quoted above. Katta apocha patavi, tejo vayo naghadati. Katta digamcha rasancha, anum tulam subhasubam. Katta namacha rupancha, asesang uparujjati. Where do earth and water, fire and wind, long and short, fine and coarse, pleasant and unpleasant, no footing find, where it is that all that are held in check with no trace left? According to Buddha's reply, earth, water, fire and air do not find a footing, and long, short, subtle, gross, pleasant, unpleasant, and name and form are completely cut off in a consciousness which makes nothing manifest and which is infinite and lustrous all round. It is very likely that reference again is to the Anyapala Samadhi, the fruit of knowledge concentration of the Arahant. Though less obvious, the string of negations in its general agreement with those that occur elsewhere in like context. Terms like long and short, subtle and gross, pleasant and unpleasant, as well as name and form, could easily be comprehended by the standard phrase whatever is seen, heard, sensed, cognized, attained, sought after, and traversed by the mind. The last line of the verse stresses the fact that the four great elements do not find a footing, and that name and form, comprehending them, can be cut off completely in that anidassana vijnana, the non-manifestative consciousness of the Arahant, by the cessation of his normal consciousness, which rests on the dasa of sense experience. This is a corrective to that monk's notion that the four elements can cease altogether, somewhere a notion which had its roots in the popular conception of self-existing material elements. The Buddha's reformulation of the original question and this concluding line are meant to combat this wrong notion. It must also be mentioned that the first and the last lines are basic in this verse, question and answer, since they stress that it is in the anidassana vijnana that a state of affairs similar to, though not identical with, the one envisaged by the question of that monk. Could that all be expected? This consciousness of the Arahant is one that manifests nothing out of our world of concepts. It does not illustrate, lustro bright, anything though, or because it is self all lustrous, for darkness can never be illustrated or made by manifest by light.
One moment. Now, can you bring us to the previous part? Yeah. So, few examples, few things that we can clarify. So, basically, this story in the Kevadda Sutta is a very interesting one. So, one monk wanted to find out a kind of a place where all this physicality become completely ceased. There is no physical things at all. And Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, the earth, water, fire and air, and those are completely almost like vanished or nothing is there. So he is going from one place to the other place. He had the psychic powers and he is trying to figure out where it is. And he actually went to different realms. There were realms to ask this question, even to the Brahma realms asked this question. And ultimately, Mahabrahma has pointed him back to the Buddha. Why didn't you ask from the Buddha? So then actually he came back and asked the same question. So he asked the question like, where are these Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu going to be completely ceased? Then Buddha mentioned this is a wrong question. So basically he has changed the question first. Before answer, he changed the question. He said, rather than you asking the question like, where are these 4 elements completely ceased? You better ask, where are these 4 elements do not manifest, do not represent, do not find a footing. So that's why the Viññānaṁ anidassanam anantaṁ sabbato pabhaṁ yatta apocha patavi tejo vayo nagadati. The nagadati term basically represents these 4 elements do not find a footing. Now, if we have to look at our own minds, so basically if you are basically aware of what is going on in your mind, so probably you can remember your house, probably you can remember your car, your daughter, your son, your husband, your wife, your teachers, your friends, your, say, salary, or your president, or whatever it is. All these things are physical, and we can say certain impressions, certain signs, which we have extracted from those physical objects. And for us, there are physical objects, and we have given them various names. And some of them are very, very attractive. Some of them are repulsive. Some of them are very important to us. Some of them are not important to us. So we have these various kind of judgments, preferences, and through which we have acquired certain amount of nimittas, certain amount of signs, marks. And those are the ones actually appearing again and again in our mind. So if we look at our mind, so the mind may be fully occupied with these kinds of images. And we can simply say they are name and form, nama rupa. Now, at that moment, actually, we know that they are representing. So all these physical objects are representing in our mind. And they are kind of a shadow type of a representation. But when one is practicing vipassana, so one important thing we can understand is these shadows, these images start disappearing. The importance that we have attributed to various physical objects become less and less. Suppose that we are doing Dhatu Manasikara, as much as possible we are paying attention to the body. Mindfulness is there, concentration is there, and we are able to recognize how these elements are operating. So basically what happened is, as a result of this observation, so we start understanding their true nature. How, first of all, we understand what are the characteristics of earth element, fire element, water element, air element, etc. And more we understand them, we understand their true nature. They start showing their true nature. And we are actually carefully observing, and as a result of that, we are able to understand their true nature. So slowly we are able to, so our mind start dropping them, rather than holding them, rather than manipulating them, rather than fabricating them. Now they appear like simple element characteristics, various behaviors. And on the other hand, we lose the distinctions like internal and external. Actually, today also in the morning, we discuss Dhatu Manasikara related Dhamma sermon uttered by Venerable Sariputta called Mahahatti Padosuma Sutta. So there again, Venerable Sariputta explains so how earth element, water element, etc. We are sort of using for our meditation. So one important thing he highlights is Yacheva Kopana Ajjattika Patavidhatu, Yacha Bahira Patavidhatu, Patavidhatu Revesa. So whatever we call the internal earth element, whatever we call the external earth element, they both are merely earth element. So we are the ones we are the ones who have imposed some sort of a unrealistic type of demarcation, unrealistic type of mark, a boundary. But when one look at properly, there is no such boundary, and you will more and more loses that internal external duality. And now the other thing is, as we continue like that, so these elements start showing their true nature. As a result of that, now they start all appear like blood. So if you are simply looking at various element characteristics within the body, now you can't clearly see things, clearly see their behavior, everything very much like appear a flux, blood. So you now have some sort of a dispersion, and ultimately you let go of the whole thing, so mind become clear. Mind become relieved and released from all this. So once the mind is released, it doesn't have any images anymore. So I'm talking a temporary state, by the way. So you may have some sort of a state now where all the images, all the impressions what we have acquired from Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu are not representing in the mind now. So mind has become very, very clear, very, very like transparent. So you can see the spaciousness of the mind as a result of the practice. Once mind has let go of all those attachments, so the mind now is quite clear. So when this clarity is available, now you can say this Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu does not find footing there. Everywhere else it may have found some sort of footing, but in your mind now it has no footing at all. So you are not remembering, you are not imagining whatever watery objects, whatever solid objects, whatever airy or temperature related things. So the mind has completely free from all that. So mind has become completely spacious, very clear, and that clarity of the mind is there. You might understand that. So Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu does not find any footing there. So at this sort of an ungrasping state of mind, there is no footing of Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu. So that means mind is capable of eliminating all these figures, eliminating all these images, all these memories, all these stains available in the mind, and mind has become very, very cleansed in that sense. Temporary, maybe temporary, but again there may be signs appearing, again there may be some sort of a sankhara, some sort of a fabrication happening in the mind. But in general, when our mind is in what we call the Tadanga Nibbhuti, to that extent, mind is freed. Mind has attained Nibbana. So that means till the power of the wisdom is available, till the Vipassana knowledges are powerful, so our mind has completely wiped out all those traces, all those images of Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu. So they are not finding footing there, they are not representing there, they are not manifesting in the mind. So this non-manifestive type of vijnana, what we call the anidassana vijnana, Thero basically attributed to the Arahant, and the Vipassana yogi might experience some close type of an experience, even though it is not the supreme or the full-fledged type of anidassana vijnana. Assume that we are also taking what Katukun Thero is telling, like anidassana vijnana is only with the Arahant, but still certain characteristics of anidassana vijnana is available even to this Vipassana yogi, who is able to reach the level where there is no footing, there is no images, there are no signs of any kind of physical objects appearing in the mind. So mind is maintaining very released, relaxed state. At the same time, there are no impediments, there are no stress, no images. So the complete clarity of mind is there, purity of mind is there. Even though it is temporary, it is still something achievable, something very, very positive, very rich state of mind. Even though nothing is there, but you are very rich. You are free from defilements, you are free from irritations, you are free from any, stains, you are free from any stress, any raga, dosa, moha, nothing is there. So you may feel that released state of mind. So that is the point. So when you are there, then we can actually agree with Venerable Jnanananda Thero. So even though we are not Arahant, still some sort of some characteristics of that mind we may be able to experience even for some moment. So that is what I like to gather from here, what Katuhun Thero is mentioning here. So this verse is a very, very interesting verse, very, very important verse. And you can apply this to your own mind and see from this verse, what are the things that you can actually align with. Now, one thing is Viññānaṁ Anidassana. So that is what I have just explained. So in your mind, in your consciousness, nothing is manifested at that level. Manifested in the sense there is no images, there is no film going on. Now, say for example, if we remember the simile that what Katuhun Thero has given, that the simile of the cinema, where there is a screen and on top of the screen we projected a kind of a episode, kind of a cinema. At that time there is a movie. But suppose when the doors are open, a huge brightness comes into the screen. So all those shadows, all those images are wiped out. Now the complete clarity is there. Now even though you can see the screen, so all those Namarupa, all those images projected onto the screen are very much like faded away. They don't represent any kind of a beautiful, attractive, delusionary type of objects. So now the person can simply see the very bright, very clear screen. Similarly, when the mind reaches some understanding about these things, so it may reach some bright in the sense the bright with the wisdom. Now it has very bright with wisdom. As a result of that, none of the name and form is representing in the mind now. There is no name and form to get entangled. So the name and form is where the consciousness go and find a footing. But now there is no name and form. Viññānaṁ Anidassanam Anantang Sabbhatopabhang. Anantang. And there is no boundary also. At that level there is no boundary. Sabbhatopabhang. Everywhere you can find the lustre of the wisdom. Etthapoja patavine tejovayo nagadati. So there is no any footing of pataviyapo tejovayo. Etta diganja rasancha anunthulang subhasubhang etta namancha rupancha asesang projati. So the dualistic conventions like good, bad, black, white, long, short, small, large. So all these are very much like dualistic concepts that we are using. So all those concepts are completely abandoned. Etta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati. So the name and form also abandoned. So there is no name and form. The mind has its complete clarity. So the images are not there. Thoughts are not there. Any delusionary, say, type of states are not there. So the yogi may be experiencing complete clarity. And the Arahant means the one who has completely abandoned the asavas, the kilesas. So his mind's clarity, we can imagine, like the complete clarity, the full purity of the mind. So at that level, there are no impediments at all. There are no stains at all. So he is blessed with the clarity of the mind. He is blessed with the calmness, peacefulness, purity of the mind. So at that time, there is no name and form, and the Pataviyapo Tejo Vayo does not find footing, and it is lustrous of the lustre of the wisdom is there, so it has become quite lustrous. And at that consciousness level, nothing is manifested. There is no name and form to tangle the consciousness. So this is what actually we can see from this verse. And viññānassa nirodhena ettetang uparujjati. So the second term, the last sentence, the viññāna basically means the conditioned consciousness. That means the typical consciousness which is tangled with name and form. So, for example, you are thinking about something and various images are there. Assume that you are thinking about someone who has hurt you. Then, with respect to that incident, where various thoughts are there, various memories are there. He saw her appearance is there. So again and again, you are grasping all those appearances, all those past images, all those past memories, incidents. So your mind is completely tangled, your consciousness is completely tangled with whatever represented in your mind. So name and form is what represented in mind, and your mind get again and again get tangled. But here, at this level, there is no such tanglement at all. So that tangled consciousness has ceased. The consciousness which is tangled, which is completely manifested, completely trapped in the name and form is no more. It is ceased. So this is the state actually explained in this verse, and I think this is enough for today. Now I like to open the session for questions.
Avasarai Bante, we have 6 questions today.
Right.
Question number 1. This is on mindful sitting. My sitting practice is mindfulness on the breath. After 5 to 10 minutes, I can establish mindfulness on in-breath and out-breath and can observe the difference. Once the breath starts to calm down and become subtle, I get sleepiness time to time. After 1 or 2 glitches of falling into sleep, I can sharpen the observations and mindfulness and come out of this state. It appears like I can control the intermittent sleepiness with the mindfulness technique. Is this something normal in the practice, or do I have to do something apart from managing it? This happens even if I have a good sleep and not physically exhausted. Much merits for your advice, with metta. The end of the question.
Chamila, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. Dear Bante, my sitting practice is mindfulness on the breath. After 5 to 10 minutes, I can establish mindfulness on in-breath and out-breath and can observe the difference. Once the breath starts to calm down and become subtle, I get sleepiness time to time. After 1 or 2 glitches of falling into sleep, I can sharpen the observations and mindfulness and come out of this state. It appears like I can control the intermittent sleepiness with the mindfulness technique. Is this something normal in the practice, or do I have to do something apart from managing it? This happens even if I have a good sleep and not physically exhausted. Much merits for your advice, with metta. That's the end of the question.
Yeah, I think you better go through it. So basically, one situation is that as the object become more refined, so your mind slips and ultimately even can get into the sleepiness, kind of a drowsiness type of state. So basically, when we start getting to some sort of samadhi, still it is not very pure or very clean type of samadhi. It is somewhat mixed with the sleepiness. So this is how basically we start experiencing a samadhi at the very early stage. But slowly you may be able to abandon the sleepiness so that the clarity will be available, the awakefulness will be available. So therefore, I think you can continue your practice slowly. You may be able to go through this and overcome this situation.
Question number 2 of 6 is a general question. Dear Bante, is self-awareness part of Sakkaya Ditthi? In general, we promote self-awareness as a skill and good thing in this society and don't view it as part of conceit. Is self-awareness part of Sakkaya Ditthi? With metta, that's the end of the question.
It depends on the yogi actually. So at the beginning, we can't immediately overcome Sakkaya Ditthi. So basically what we do is, you as an individual, you start developing, say, body awareness. So purposely you are trying to establish mindfulness. While your mind gets distracted and thinking and going through some obsessive thoughts, obsessive thinking, proliferation, all that, you are trying to purposefully, intentionally establish mindfulness. Say you are walking, your foot is touching the ground, and that sensation is where you are paying attention. So some sort of effortful, intentional paying attention is there. Awareness is there. Still, we can say it has Sakkaya-ditthi. But interesting thing is, as we continue, so you start seeing the true nature of these, maybe the elements. If you are practicing Vedananupassana, you start recognizing the true nature of the feelings. If you are practicing Cittanupassana, you start recognizing the thoughts. All that start showing their true nature. So you start somewhat dispassionate about them. You are not grasping them at all. More than that, you become more dispassionate and you start maintaining kind of a distance. And now we can say the self-view or some sort of attachment become less and less. And more you understand it, more and more you understand their particularly the non-self characteristics, impermanent characteristics. And Buddha also promote. So when you have such understanding, how are you going to consider it as me, myself, or belong to me, or mine? Netam mama nesohamasmi na meso attati. So now he promotes, okay, it is not me, it is not mine, it is not myself. So kind of abandoning of that self-view. So because you have seen it truly, seen it clearly. So then assume that you are able to abandon the whole thing, release the mind totally, and you are maintaining some sort of calmness, clarity, peacefulness, non-grasping state of mind. So we can say the self is at its very minimalistic level. We can't say completely self is abandoned because it happens as an arahant. Maybe a little sense of I is there, but not very strong type of self. But you are naturally maintaining the awareness. It is not also very effortful kind of mindfulness, effortful awareness that you are trying to maintain. Now rather the awareness become very natural state. Awareness become very soothing, very relaxed, effortless kind of awareness. So at that state, we can't say you are intentionally, strongly, effortfully maintaining anything. So your mind's natural nature, the default nature has changed to this self-awareness. And there you are aware of your body and the mind. And whenever there is any kind of a grasping, that also you abandon rather than being captured by that, rather than being victimized to that. So your practice is to abandon any type of grasping. So the mind becomes more and more released, established at nowhere. So we are reducing the grasping, reducing the I-making, mind-making, self-view. So this is the path we have to continue, by the way. Chamila, you are muted.
Sorry. So this is
Yeah.
mindful sitting. Question number 7. Question number 3 of 7. Mindful sitting. Dear Venerable Bhante, after a few minutes of my sitting practice, my body and mind settled down and I started to pay attention to my feelings. Suddenly I feel very strong sensations like hot, then cold in my body, and I pay attention to my bodily sensations. Again settled down and I started to pay attention to feelings. Am I doing right thing while changing my attention here and there? Much merits for your guidance. With metta, that's the end of the question.
If your attention do not get distracted or scattered, then you can actually pay attention to some prominent places, prominent sensations. There is no harm. Because the main thing is the clarity of the mind or the attention of your mind. It has to retain its ability. So you are clearly seeing the sensation, its behavior, everything is there. Even assume that it has now faded away, still you are able to retain your clarity of the mind, retain your sharpness of the mind, mindfulness or the samadhi, the concentration, not changed, not scattered. You are able to retain that. Then you can even jump to another place and you can start observing that sensation with same clarity. Suppose that your mind get scattered, completely distracted. While you are doing that, then you may have to revert back to the anapanasati or whatever your primary object.
Question number 4 of 7. This is general question. Dear Bante, is it right to spread metta as a form of goodwill in the context of getting free from suffering than loving kindness? If I explain from an example, I may not be able to spread loving kindness to Donald Trump, but I can spread goodwill that he may be free from suffering with metta. That's the end of the question.
Loving kindness and goodwill. So what is the difference, Shamila? So for me, I feel it like very same. So I don't know these subtle differences what you're talking here. So maybe loving kindness is where you are having very friendly, unconditional type of love. You may be taking it to that level. But goodwill is simply, okay, you let him be happy, that's enough. So that type of very lighter type of wish that you are having. But you can take it to any level. So that's why in the Buddhist teaching, either it's Donald Trump or anyone, so you can have the same type of loving kindness to anybody. So that's why at different levels of loving kindness practice, metta practice, so you may start with someone that you can easily spread your metta, spread your loving kindness. And that is your very much like the benchmark. More and more you practice, you are able to take to that level to anyone. That means even to a neutral person, you can come to that benchmark. Even to a person that you don't like, you are able to come to that benchmark. So this amount of loving kindness that you are spreading become very even to anybody. At that level, actually, Donald Trump should be able to include in your practice.
Question number 5 of 7. This is a Dhamma sermon question. Dear Bante, does no footing on the form, earth, water, fire and air, means no nama rupa? Or does that mean there's no connection or no dependence on consciousness, but they exist? With metta, that's the end of the question.
They exist in the sense, actually, maybe in the physical sense they are there, but they do not represent in our mind. So that's why I have simply taken some gross examples. So in our mind, till we have a lot of attachments and we have given a lot of importance, so many objects start appearing. Say you are really like your vehicle, your car. Then many images of your car may appear in your mind. Say you really love your daughter, you really love your son, then the images of him or her start appearing in your mind. Say if you are in love with someone, so many images of that person start appearing in your mind. So these are the physical traces that we have taken from those physical objects. But does not find footing here means, so those objects are not there. Not there in objects in the sense those traces are not there. They are not representing at all in your mind. So the mind is very much like transparent, very lucid, very clean, very clear, spacious, empty. So no traces are there. So now we can simply say, Patavi Apo Tejo Vayo does not find any footing in your mind. That means your daughter, your son, your, say, loved ones, your car, whatever. So none of them are occupying in your mind. They are not very much like objectified in your mind. They are available in the outside as at the conceptual level, but your mind is free from them. Your mind has no place for them. Your mind is completely clean, very clear. Clarity is there, spaciousness is there. So that is it.
Question number 6 of 7. This is a general question. Dear Bante, in the Dhammacakkappawatha Sutta, could Bante please clarify the 12 ways Buddha referred to it, seeing dukkha? That's the end of the question.
Actually, dukkha, not only dukkha, the 12 ways with respect to the Four Noble Truths. Maybe the one you are referring here, Dwadasakara. Actually, the Dwadasakara, it is representing the 12 aspects into the Four Noble Truths. So with respect to first noble truth, that is the noble truth of suffering, there are 3 stages, or we can say there are 3 areas we have to be familiar with. So the first one is Dukkham Parinyaya. So the Dukkha has to be fully understood. Then, sorry, that is the second one. Actually, the first one is the theoretical understanding of the Dukkha. So what is Dukkha? So that is the Panchupadana Dukkha. So in essence, these 5 clinging aggregates are suffering. And again, all these, the birth, decaying, aging, death, being with certain people that you don't like, to be apart from the loved ones, not having what you want, all that are actually suffering. Now, this is the kind of a statement, theoretical understanding of the theoretical statement of the dukkha, and then Buddha talks about what to do about it. That's the function part. This is the task. This is the practice. Dukkham Parinyayam is the second, that's practice-related part. Previous one is called the Satya Jnana, Satya Jnana, that means the statement level. Second one is the Krutya Jnana, that means the function that what you are supposed to do with it. And then the Kruta Jnana, that means you have done that. Basically, you have now understood it thoroughly. Now, similarly, the second noble truth is the noble truth of the cause of suffering. And there, what is the cause? That is the craving. And these are the 3 types of craving, and what are the characteristics of craving. All that are the kind of theoretical statement about the craving. And what we have to do, what is the practice, what is the function of the second noble truth, that is it to be abandoned. The craving has to be abandoned. Dukkha samudayam ariya satyam pahatabba. And once you've done the task again and again, okay, you have done, completed. Now you have the Kruta Jnana. Okay, there is no craving in the mind has cleaned, free from craving. The third noble truth is the Nibbana, or we can say the Nirodha Satya. So what are the characteristics of the Nirodha Satya? Chago, Patinisaggo, Mutti, Analayo. So likewise, certain characteristics are explained with respect to Nibbana. So that's the theoretical statement about it. Then you functionally, practically, what you have to do? You need to realize the Nibbana. Dukkha Nirodham Arya Satyam Satchikatabba. You need to realize the Nibbana. That's a function. This is the practice we have to do. And then once you are there, now you can say, okay, I have realized it. Kruta Jnana. So similar the fourth noble truth. So what is the fourth noble truth? Magga Satya. Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. So this is the theoretical understanding, the statement with respect to the Magga Satya. And what are we supposed to do about it? Okay, we have to develop it. Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Arya Satyam Bhavetabba. So you have to develop it. And once we develop that, then we can say, okay, we are done. We have developed it. That means Bhavitang. So basically, I have done that. So you are already an Arahant now. Basically like that. So likewise, to each noble truth, there are 3 aspects. 3 into 4, now you have 12 aspects. And typically it is called Dwadasakara. Back to you, Chandra.
Question number 7. This is the last question. This is on the Dhamma sermon. Dear Bhante, is my understanding correct that defilements equals footings of name and form in consciousness? Therefore, the path can be explained as completely eradication of defilements. With metta, that's the end of the question.
Definitely. I can agree with you. So basically, when name and form find footing, that means some sort of an attachment is there in the mind. Some sort of a craving, some sort of a desire is available in the mind. That's why they were able to find a footing in the mind. But when there are no defilements, there is no footing, no attachment, no craving. So the name and form is completely cleaned out, erased out. So that's why that's a very beautiful statement like Chetva namancha rupancha asesam. No, that's a beautiful statement like you have to cut off the desire with respect to name and form. That means desire, the defilement with respect to name and form has to be cut off, or the attachment to name and form has to be cut off. On the other hand, we can say the defilements have to be cut off. So everything is telling the same thing.
So we've come to the end of the written questions. There's a little bit more time, Bhante. Can we open the session for questions?
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So if there's anyone who would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand and I will unmute you. You can ask a question directly from Bhante. Yanti, would you like to ask a question? So let me unmute you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thero Saranai Bhante. I'm a bit puzzled as to how I can be without Nama Rupa, because everything, even Dhatu Manasikara, when we do it, it is to do with Rupa. And
actually, you may start with Rupa in the sense, now here we start with Rupa, say Pataviyapo Tejo Vayu, true, but as a result of the practice, they start fading away. They become blurred. So they start appear like a flux. Now you can't distinctly say, okay, this is Patavi, this is Apo, this is Tejo. So everything appear like a flux. So now it is not interesting. Now previously, one the thing is, now when we are looking outside, or a typical person simply have a lot of objects. So this is my son, this is my daughter, this is my house, this is my car. So this is the conceptual world that we are living in. But as we practice Dhatu Manasikara, we are going more deeper level. We are not taking these concepts into the picture. Now concepts are very much like abandoned, and these labels are given out. Now you have very subtle characteristics of the this Pataviyapo Tejo Vayu. And you are not talking about impermanence of your house or car or son or daughter or anything. Rather, you are looking at what are the constructing elements. Pataviyapo Tejo are the constructing elements of all these physicality. And more you thoroughly understand that, the result is even functioning at the very higher level, conceptual level even. Now, even when you are looking at your house, so your mind does not grasp it.
As a house?
Even as a house, it does not grasp. Say, whatever, any object, it does not want to go and tangle with. They are there, but you are not conceptualizing them. That's why sometimes you call, say, ditte dittamattang, sute sutamattang, mute mutamattang, viññate viññatamattang. So seen is just seen. You are not thinking about them. You are not proliferating about them. And you are not objectifying them now. The objectifying, so when things are there, we can focus our attention to a particular thing, and we can prepare a thing, we can prepare an object, which is more important than the other objects. So this is how we are objectifying the whole world. But as we continue the practice, so you may be able to have a situation where the mind stops that objectifying. At that level, you can see, so there is no name and form appearing in your mind. The consciousness is not tangled with anything at that level.
Okay, so if I see my daughter, then I will think, oh, it's only a Nama Rupa, I shouldn't get attached to her and all that.
No. This is simply you are thinking, no.
Okay. No,
you are simply trying to. this is merely thinking. Now, you have heard about what I am telling, and you have heard about Buddha's teaching, and you are now trying to apply theoretically, physically, or rather we can say forcefully onto the picture. You still see the daughter, and daughter is there, but you are trying to condition your mind, telling, okay, even though daughter is there, daughter is merely a representation in your mind. It is merely the nama rupa. Don't get attached to that. So you are very much like trying to condition the mind. This is not the practice actually. Rather, the practice is where you develop mindfulness, you develop concentration, and you do the formal vipassana practice of, say, dhatu manasikara, vedanupasana, all that. So as a result of that, now when you are seeing, you don't need to impose anything. You don't need to condition the mind. Rather, mind has stopped taking any imprints from what you see.
Okay. That is a
Even though
later stage. Yeah, okay.
At a later stage, mind stops taking all that information from that appearing object. Rather, mind remains uninvolved. Mind remains calm. Mind remains quiet, without any thoughts, without any images in your mind. So mind is capable of maintaining its clarity without getting tangled automatically.
Yeah. So the
You don't need to tell the mind. You don't need to tell the mind, okay, this is name and form. This is not my daughter. No, not at all.
No. Earlier stage, you think of the dhatu manasikara, and then as you go along in the path practicing, then you distinguish what you see as just merely it will automatically come. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, automatically, basically you understand. Yeah, that understanding is operating inside the mind, so that it avoids you being grasping anything as an object.
As an object, yeah, like
as
my
an
house.
object.
Oh, this is my house. This is my car. That won't happen once you have done the preliminary work, and you would come to that stage. So that must be a later stage.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't identify also. Identify in the sense you can't recognize also. Now, say for example, now you need to you assume that you parked your car at a supermarket, and now you have to pick your car. Then you should be able to select your car, no? You should be able to recognize your car. So that capacity is still there.
Yes. Yeah.
So don't think that you become your all memories are completely deleted.
No.
It's not that. Whenever you want to recognize your car, okay, you can recognize easily your car. Okay, this is my car. And you can get into the car and drive your car. No issues at all. But at the same time, you can, when you are practicing level, you can avoid any of the imprints, any of the traces of the car to your mind. Mind is capable of maintaining its clarity. So kind of living the two world, kind of two systems, two worlds are there for you now.
So does that come gradually, Bhante, with the practice?
Yes. Practice, yes, so exactly.
Maybe, because we do dhatu manasikara and all that. As we go along the path, and when we come to a higher level, then you will see, like Ba here was able to see that was
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's right.
All right. Thank you, Bhante.
That's right.
Thero Sarnai.
Thero Sarnai.
Bhante, we have one more raised hand, but we have come up on time. So
no problem. We can proceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Samantha, I will unmute you.
Thank you, Bhante. Just a quick question. Further on from what Bhante was saying to Hiranti's question, does that mean then you need to practice a high level of concentration up to a jhana 8? You know that one where there's neither perception nor perception. Is that at that stage that you get that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Oh, so, okay. That's good to know.
That is where you condition the mind to a level of concentration. So at that concentration level, as a result of the concentration, your mind attains something. Attain a concentrated state. At that state, there is no sanya. And you can't say there is not completely out of sanya either. No perception, no non-perception. So it's a very concentration-based practice. It's a conditioned state of practice. But here what happens is you simply has some amount of concentration and mindfulness, using which you start seeing the true nature of the things. So you are seeing the impermanent characteristics. You see the unsatisfactory characteristic. You see the non-self characteristic. So these are the insights actually. So when these insights are operating in your mind, now the opposite kind of a different situation happens where mind starts dropping things. Mind starts letting go of things. So this is the result of the knowing things as they truly are. You know that yatha bhuta jnana dassana, seeing things as they truly are, has the result as detachment, result as abandoning, result as letting go. So once everything has let go of, mind has its clarity, its freedom, spaciousness of the mind. So this is what we are talking here. So at that level, it is we can't say that you are in a very higher concentrated level. Rather, you are in maybe at a very shallow concentration level, but still mind doesn't want to get involved. Seeing is there, but mind doesn't want to objectify things.
So seeing the impermanence and then
seeing
you get
the true
distraction
nature
about it, and
exactly.
then disenchantment.
Exactly.
Lovely. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
So I think we don't see anyone else raise their hand. So I think we will end the program. So to end the program, I would first like to pass our merits and thank Bhante for his valuable time, even with the busy schedule at the monastery. To all the supporters of this program, both seen and unseen, and to the participants for joining today to practice and share their questions. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thero
Thero Saranai.